Hi, Henny, how are you? It's Teknikolour, and today I have another speed build for you. This time, it is my week 5 submission for the Builder Games World Tour, and that's week 5 out of 6. So, I don't know if we will be making it through to the final round. We do find that information out later today, but as of yet, we're still in the competition. So let's check out the speed build, shall we? So for stop 5 on our world tour of the competition, we had the option to go to Mumbai or Seoul, and I chose to go to Seoul, South Korea. I'll talk more in detail about this week's prompt later in the video, but just so you know what we're doing right now with this speed build, we had to build an intersection in Seoul, South Korea, and it had to be a real intersection. We had to base it off of actual coordinates. I chose, and I really hope I'm not butchering this, I did try to find some pronunciation guides online and I couldn't find anything, but my intersection is Yeolmadong and Wasan. If you're unfamiliar with the Builder Games, it's a building style competition in The Sims 4, and it's currently in its 5th season. There are 2 travel guides, 15 judges, and 30 contestants. What's really exciting about this season is the fact that it's a world tour, so we are each going to 6 different destinations. I have made it to 5 of the 6 destinations, but we'll see what happens with the final round. Since it's elimination style, I won't know until later today, when you're watching this, if I make it through to the final round. Obviously, I really want to make it through the entire competition, but who knows? There are so many talented builders who have taken part or are still taking part in the competition. So to make it through to the final round, I think would be incredible. So for last week, we went to downtown Cairo in Egypt, and I actually built a restaurant that actually exists called Oldish, and I had such a good time building that. If you want to see that and all of my previous submissions, I'll link the playlist down below. Basically, the focus of this challenge is for us to visit each of these different locations, do our research, find out more about the culture and building styles, and build something of our own that fits within that. But we're learning about all of these locations as we're visiting them and becoming better builders because of it. Personally, I think I'm growing a lot. I think I've definitely pushed myself in this competition. I'm really proud of the builds that I've made. If you want to know more about the Builder Games in general, especially since season 5 is coming to a close soon, be sure to check the description down below because I will post a link to how you can find out more information about them. Anyway, why don't I explain a little bit about the rules for the competition? So for each week, we aren't allowed to submit previously done builds, and none of these are shells. We're not provided any shells this season. We have to build each of our builds from scratch, and that's why all of them from each of the different competitors all look different. We can't use custom content, and of course we aren't allowed to build outside of the challenge prompt or plagiarize. However, we can use any pack at our disposal. We can use CC Free Art, we can use the tool mod, Better Build By, Debug, Live Edit, BB Move Objects, and each of our builds will be judged using a point-based system. The maximum base score that we can receive from a judge is 5 points. For challenge accuracy, we can get 3 points. For visual appeal, we can get 1 point, and for uniqueness, we can get 1 point. On top of that, judges can award up to 3 extra points per challenge, and those points can all go to 1 builder, or they can spread out among 3. This also isn't as simple as just making our build and posting it on the gallery and being done with it. There is a Discord server for the competition, and each of the competitors has to post their build by the due date. That includes photos, what inspired us, as well as a description of our build. There are some additional rules. Since we are submitting photos to the judges, they aren't to include any photo editing in their judging. Judges also aren't to include any shading presets. The judges also aren't to consider any use of the tool mod. So even though the tool mod is allowed, if you are not great at it or you're really good at it, the judges aren't supposed to take that into consideration. I was really proud of my downtown Cairo build of Oldest Restaurant. And even though we are obviously still in the competition and made it through to week 5, unfortunately, I scored second to last. Even though I'm a little disappointed about my scoring, I still think I did a really good job, and it made me very excited to work on my week 5 build because you never know how far you're going to make it in this competition. There are so many talented builders in this competition. So if we don't make it to week 6, I still think I did a fantastic job this entire competition, but how cool would it be to continue on? I think I should probably tell you about the prompts that we could choose from for this week. Some of us went to Mumbai, India, and some of us went to Seoul, South Korea. For those that chose to visit Mumbai, they were tasked with making a spice or fish market. However, my prompt was to visit Seoul and recreate an actual intersection. Here is exactly what it says. Seoul is known for being a very busy modern city. So you are going to pick a city road intersection that is located in or near Seoul and make a city scene of that area. We also needed to include a link, photo, or coordinates of the intersection that we chose to recreate. And we could make a room or up to a 50 by 50 lot, but not exceeding that. There was a detour, however. We had to include 7 cars. I decided to build in Mount Komorebi from the Snowy Escape Pack, and this lot is 531 Shinrin-yoku. Again, I apologize if these pronunciations are incorrect. I'm trying my best here, but the actual intersection that we're building is Yeomadong and Wasan. And I decided to make a dollhouse style build, which is something that I've never done before. Basically, if you're unsure what that is, it's kind of like if you were to see a dollhouse and one of it is like the facade of the building, and then if you flip it around, it's kind of like somebody took a knife and like sliced through a piece of cake and you just see the inside of the house, but only like a portion of it. That's what I decided to do here. Just like all of the other locations, I've never actually been to South Korea, so I didn't know any intersections. I did a lot of research online to try and find something that I would like, and I was kind of coming up short until I had found this one building. It's the KT&G Seongsangmadang Cultural Center building. And again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. It looks really cool, like really cool. And there was probably no way that I could build that in The Sims using the items that we have, because it, like, look it up. It looks really cool. But there was no way that was going to happen. But I said, this street looks kind of cool, so let me just travel along it. We can walk in Google Street View and just try to see if we can find anything that we like. So I was traveling up and down, past it a few times, and then I finally stumbled upon this one intersection that I was like, wait a minute. This looks pretty cool. I had not noticed it before, but there was this kind of very interesting restaurant. It had this wood front, but then also like this brick area, and there were all these signs on it, and it just looked very interesting to me. And then right next to it, there was like this orange shipping container kind of looking building that I think might be an arcade, but I was looking at it and I'm like, this is really cool. So let me see if I can start trying to work on this. Something that's really interesting about this road is I'm pretty sure it's now been converted to be more pedestrian focused, but at least at some point, this specific intersection had parking in the middle, like the median. And that worked perfectly for my detour, because then I could just plop down my 7 cars and be done with it. Another cool part about that like wooden front building, the restaurant, is the fact that there is like a little garage in there. So I also snuck in another car there. But I just thought it was really fun to build this specific restaurant and the building right next to it, because I had an idea in place. I knew that the right hand building was still going to be a restaurant because it just made sense, but the one on the left, I didn't think I wanted it to be an arcade. I decided that I would make a grocery store. And after I decided that and I started to build it, I realized that we don't have a lot of items for that. So I just had to keep using whatever items I actually had, and I needed to just plop down a bunch of them, change the swatch, and just try for the best, and honestly, I'm really proud of the way that that turned out. I also made a conveyor belt, like where you check out. I thought that that was very cool. There's also this item that I use that, I don't know, there are some like grocery stores that have like this weird rotatey thing where like back then they would have plastic bags and you'd put all your items in there, and that's kind of like what I was envisioning with that. And the restaurant, I had so much fun with that because I was just putting all of these different signs on there and trying to make it look similar to what it does in real life. And I'm really pleased with the way that that one turned out. However, that's mostly the fronts. The interiors, you can see that I kind of left until end stage of the build, but I was like, how do I build an actual building, the inside at least, and not have the rest of the inside? Like, it's sliced down the middle, so, or not even the middle, kind of just like the front. So what am I supposed to do there? So I wanted it to visually show that I'm actually like slicing it and it's not the full build. I think the best place where I handled where the slicing of the buildings is actually in the restaurant and in the office space, and they're kind of like diagonal from each other. So in the office space, I was kind of envisioning some of the office buildings that I've worked in, and there would be people at like a row of desks, and then there was a row of desks on the other side of that, and we're just showing one side. So the other side, they got chopped off. They're in the building that's like not built, but these people, they're on this side, and they got to stay in the build. They got to stay on the lot. And in the restaurant, I achieved the same thing by using staircases and figuring out where I was going to put tables and walkways. And I think I did a really good job of that because it makes sense for that to be in the front of the restaurant, I felt. I also had a really good time trying to come up with what each building was going to look like based on the images and the Google Street View views that we had, because some of it was round walls. And I know what you're thinking, Tech, why did you build with round walls? And it's because I wanted a challenge and I immediately regretted it. Oh my God, there was so many issues with it. Like trying to get windows to look good going across the rounded walls, even the ones that are supported, does not look great. And I try to just fit everything like doors wherever I could to make it work in a way that it would look as close to the actual place as possible. And I think I achieved that given the limitations of rounded rooms, but oh my God, were they annoying to work with. Like, for instance, when I was painting the ceilings, I just could not paint the ceilings of the rounded rooms because I would paint the ceilings of the rounded rooms and then it would paint the floor. Literally, just in that spot that's like in the rounded room spot, it would just paint there. And then I couldn't change it at all because it was not the floor, it was the ceiling, but it was showing on the floor. Whew. Yeah, so I was frustrated with that. Like really frustrated with that. I was like, okay, these rooms are not getting painted ceilings. If anyone knows how to get that to work, or maybe it was just a bug in my game and that's unusual, let me know because I was losing my mind. Talking about these buildings though, I'm realizing I haven't actually said what each building actually ends up becoming. So that first two, the restaurant and the grocery store, that's exactly what they are. So the building that's directly across from the restaurant, that first floor is actually a cafe or a boba shop next to a clothing store. Then on the second floor, there's actually a detective's office and a framing shop. And then above that is a pet store. And that was kind of fun to make. The building that is directly across from the grocery store, however, that main floor has a passageway on the right. And on the left, the rest of the building is a department store. Above that, however, is all office space. I think the most difficult part of this build was dealing with the fact that the buildings were not whole. And I knew that was going to be a challenge for me because I've never done a dollhouse build. And to be honest, I don't really know what best practice is for dollhouse builds, but I still think it turned out really nicely. It was actually really interesting doing a lot of research because before I had found that cultural center building, I was looking everywhere. There were so many places that were more residential, where it looked like it was just apartment buildings, and some of them maybe had like retail stores. And then there was this one, like, to be honest, it was between two different locations. One of them was the one that we actually built, and the other had a school. I think it was technically a high school. There was a football field, there was a like children's park across the street, but ultimately I felt like it would be very difficult to build that, and building like a football field or like any sort of field just sort of felt a little bit like a cop out, like I wouldn't actually be doing that much work. So I felt like this was the better option to build. Can I also just say, having worked on an intersection build, I never really understood where other builders were coming from when they said that there's like no signs in The Sims, because there's not. I have like every single expansion pack, and I have a whole bunch of other packs, and there's not a lot of signage that we can use. There's also not a ton of posters. I really struggled here because I didn't want to use the same items over and over and over again because they don't look that different, like in a different swatch. So I just tried to do whatever I could and make it work to the best of my ability. I know that this is also completely unrelated to the challenge and to the speed build in general, but I like to use these speed build moments as a way to like kind of catch up with y'all, and I have a lot to talk about. I might have even mentioned it in last week's speed build. Tuesday of last week, while I was building this, I got to see my favorite musical group live for the first time in New York City. They've never toured the States before. They are from the UK, and it was so exciting. And yes, I did see S Club. That's actually one of the pieces of merch that I got, and oh my gosh. So, okay, let me break it down for you. I discovered S Club 7 in between their Miami 7 and LA 7 seasons of their television show. And I remember this because I was telling some of my friends that they were going to Miami because I misunderstood the commercial that they would be going to LA. And they schooled me, even though they kind of made fun of me that I loved S Club 7. I became obsessed, like obsessed. I remember I asked for maybe a CD or something for Christmas one year, and my parents came up to my bedroom and they asked me, "What is Schlub 7?" I guess I didn't have the best of handwriting growing up because they definitely couldn't read it. And then I explained that it was S Club 7, and then that it was a band and it released music. They had a TV series, and then they were like, "Oh, okay." But that's something that like my family has always talked about, that they thought it was Schlub 7 for the longest time. But anyway, I was obsessed with S Club 7, and I actually used to run quite a few fan sites when I was younger. So if you ever used GeoCities and you were an S Club fan, maybe you might have seen me back in the day. But one of my lifelong friends I have made through this S Club 7 obsession, and she used to run a specific website about S Club, and I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with her. I was obsessed with S Club, and we just became friends through that. And we just spent so much time online together, building websites, learning about the band, and we were both in New York, and we were nowhere near where S Club ever toured. We were making fan sites, and we never got to see them live. Actually, in 2015, they had reunited, all 7 of them, and I convinced my boyfriend to go to London with me so that we can go to the O2 Arena and see them perform live. We also made a vacation out of it, but it was phenomenal. It was so much fun getting to see them live. And then last year, they announced that all 7 of them would be reuniting again, and they also were not touring the States. And me and my friend were so disappointed, but I am not in a position to travel again and just basically see a concert. It was not going to happen. And it wasn't going to happen for her either. And we were so disappointed. And then, unfortunately, one of the members of the band, Paul Cattermole, sadly passed away. And then they kind of put the tour on hold. Hannah Spirit, one of the other members, decided that she was going to step away from the tour, but the remaining 5 members, they decided to continue, and they also decided to tour North America. So there was a Canada date and a few dates around the United States, and one of them was to perform in New York City at Terminal 5. So I was like, done, I'm going. And they also had meet and greet tickets, so I got to meet them again. And the craziest story happened. My friend, she was waiting online. I didn't see her, so I was like, we'll see each other when we get inside. And my boyfriend Andy came with me, and we were waiting outside in the cold for over an hour. And then they finally let me in, but we were panicking because like I had my VIP ticket, he just had general admission. So we're like, how does he get in then? But we got it all sorted. But my friend, she was waiting for me inside, and then we were waiting in line. We decided to buy merch, and we're waiting in line to meet S Club. And then literally she's like, oh my God, I just heard John's laugh. Like they're right there. Like we're at the end of the line. Like they're right there. Like we're about to meet them in like seconds. What do we do? What do we say? And the both of us like have anxiety, and we're like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? And she saved the day. My friend, she went up there and she said, the guy that you're about to meet, we have been friends since forever because of you. And do you think, like, after we have our photos, do you think we could just have a quick selfie with you guys? And Bradley McIntosh, bless him, is the one who heard that request. And he said, you said best friends, say no more, honey. And he grabbed her phone and he took a bunch of selfies. And our very first photo together, me and my friend, having never met before this, our very first photo together is with the band that made us friends. Is that not incredible? Is that not like the best story you've ever heard? And then they literally like after, I just realized afterwards we got shuffled over towards the stage, and while other people are having their meet and greets, and we could just stand and like watch, like we're in the same room. And then we're talking. She calls her sister, and her sister is crying. It was the sweetest thing because the two of us have wanted this for so long, like so long. And it finally happened. We're seeing them live. Like this is like incredible. And it was such a sweet moment. And then I think my friend was like, oh, I should put my phone back in my bag. She's like, where's my bag? She left her bag on the table. They had a table for us to put like our jackets and stuff like that so we could like take our photo. And she left it there. Thank God nobody stole it. But it was just like, oh my God. But we were just like so like mind blown that we had just seen the band that we had been like so obsessed with, have gotten us through so many moments in our life, both good and bad. Like we were just like so like blown away. And then we got to see them perform live. It was just like, honestly, I think it was probably better than when I had seen them in 2015 because they were so close to us and there was just this energy in the air. I think there was something with like S Club 7 in general where they filmed their TV series in the States. They're not from the States, they're from the UK. But they filmed their TV series here in the States. Only one season was in Europe, and they never toured here. I think that they were told or misled that they didn't really have as big of an audience here in the States or in North America in general. And I think that this North American leg of the tour showed them that that is so far from the truth. And specifically New York City, I mean, I didn't go to the other locations of the tour, but there was this energy in the air that basically just, I don't know, like they had to have seen how excited we all were, like how just amazed we were. And I feel like there's also like this hesitation with bands from like the 90s or whatever, where they're like, do people still care? Do people really want to come see a concert? And yes, we do. We do. I also had just recently gone to like 2 concerts with my boyfriend, who he loves the band Aqua, you know, Barbie Girl. That's the only song that I had known, but they have so many good songs and they put on a good concert too. But it was just like amazing to see this band, S Club 7, that I've loved for forever, and then get to see them live. It was just, it blew my mind. It blew my mind, and I had such a good time. Honestly, I can't stop listening to the music again. I've been watching videos on YouTube, I've been watching interviews, and I have just been like listening to as much of their music as possible. Like, I've not listened to anything else. And honestly, both of our boyfriends were there. Mine and my friend, her boyfriend, came, and everyone had a good time. Everyone was just like, there, I'm telling you, there was just this energy there. And I think they might be considering doing new music, but if they are going to continue touring, please come to the States again. And if you're wondering, like, they were a band in the 90s and it's been many years since then. Do they still have it? They still have it. They still have it. Especially Joe Amara, who was kind of like more of the lead vocalist of the group. Obviously not on every single track, not all of the time, but she was kind of considered to be the lead vocalist, who always had the best voice ever and has released amazing solo albums on her own. She still got it. She was phenomenal. That all of us, like, we heard her sing, and especially like the parts where she would like belt, and we're just like, yes, like this is incredible. Like, this is S Club. This is what we've wanted for forever, and it's real, and it's as good as we ever thought. Another kind of amazing thing happened at the concert, and John Lee is one of the members of the band, and he was not out when he was in the band, but a couple of years ago he came out, and as a gay man myself, that was just like kind of cool. He changed one of the lyrics that he performed on stage that night, and I don't know, it was just this feeling that all of us had in the audience, because there were a lot of queer people there as well, and it was just this moment where it was like, yes, because it was like, you get to be yourself. And I don't know if that was something that like he wasn't allowed to be when he was in the band, or if he just chose not to have that part of himself be out in the public eye. But he changed one of the lyrics to one of the songs that he's lead vocalist on, Sunshine. And the actual lyric is, "And let me ask you, girl, where would I be without you?" And he changed that line to, "And let me ask you, boy." And the crowd went wild. It was just such an amazing moment. And like, I don't know if he fully realized like what that meant, but that meant so much to so many of us. And it was just incredible. Like, I'm still reeling from this night, and like I just can't get over it. So S Club, if you somehow are watching this Sims 4 building video, if you're somehow watching my speed build, just know how much that night meant to me, to my friend Eccentric Muse, and how much we hope you come back and tour again. Getting back to the speed build though, we're nearing the end of the speed build now, so let me just tell you, I had such an incredible time building in this competition, and I have no idea if I'm going to make it to the final round or not. Again, I'll find out later today, but if I didn't, I had such an amazing time competing in season 5 of the Builder Games. And to anyone who is on the fence about joining building competitions like this or the Builder Games specifically, just do it. I did not consider myself a great builder, but a couple of friends had requested that I apply and I got in, and I have stayed in. So it's just kind of incredible. And I'm really proud of the work that I've done. If you want to see my previous submissions, I'll post a playlist down below, and I'll also again link to the Builder Games. But if you're interested in content like this, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you also want to see more Sims content, I play with my Legacy family every Tuesday and Thursday over on Twitch. And I'm also in the EA Creator Network. So you know how that new stuff pack is coming out this week? Well, keep your eyes open because we might be checking it out on my Twitch streams. If you want to follow me over on Twitch, I stream pretty much every single day except for Sundays and Wednesdays. My name is the same over there. It's just twitch.tv/Teknikolour. But why don't we pop into the game now? I can give you a little bit more of a tour, and I'll also post in some photos at the end. So here we are. Here is the full build, and obviously there is this street over here with all of these cars in the median, but I can show you up close. Here is the grocery store, here is the restaurant, and over here is one of those rounded buildings with the cafe and the framing shop. And then over on this side is the office building and department store. Here is the back of the restaurant. You can actually see all of the dining spaces. There's some little balconies. There's the garage. There's the kitchen. Here is the grocery store with the shelves upstairs and some of the temperature controlled rooms and the checkout area. Here is the back of the other building where there's a pet store on the top floor. There is a detective's office and a framing shop on the middle floor. And then on the main floor, there is a clothing store and thrifty or a boba place. And then of course that tall building has the office space up on top and another retail store down on the bottom. Thank you again so much for sticking with me through this speed build video. Again, I'm linking a playlist down below to my previous submissions and a link to the Builder Games if you're interested in learning more about this season or future seasons. I also stream pretty much every single day over on twitch.tv/Teknikolour. Again, I'm just not live on Wednesdays or Sundays, and we're going to be checking out the new stuff pack this week, so be sure to give me a follow. Thank you again so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video or maybe over on my Twitch stream. Bye-bye.